Hey everyone, it is Natalie from Being Intentionally Creative. This isn't going to be a long video. Basically what I wanted to do today was to show you the treasure chests I've been working on and how I've done some of the decorating to this point. As you will recall, when I did my video on these, putting these together, you really needed a manual to do it, but I'm so glad I managed to get it together. Since that video, I have made another one because the first one truly was just a, quick, let's go through, see what we can do kind of idea and putting it together because I was challenged trying to find a video on how these went together and there were no directions given with it. Since I've done the second one, I have learned a bit of a trick, tip, something like that. So I wanted to share it with you because it varies slightly from the first one I did. And saying that, it was how it went together. So looking at the back of this, and I want to make sure I'm in the camera. When I put these in, and I'll open it up, I felt that I needed to have these pieces right up against the sides on. So this one right up against, I'm going to get something to point with this at so you can see. So this piece I put right up against here. I butted it right up here. This one up against this side, and the same with the top lid. And that was a challenge and a half. Also trying to get a glue that would hold it in place quickly so I didn't have to, sort of sit there for 15, 20 minutes until it took. That was a challenge too, but I think I may have found something that's going to work well in the future for me. Having said that, what have I done differently with these pieces in the new one I did? Well, I just want to make sure I tilt this the right way, and hopefully there's no glare, so I'm just going to hold this straight. So instead of butting these right up against here, I placed it down and got it level in line with the box in here. I lined this piece up with the box, okay? And I didn't worry about whether or not this piece was attached to beside, because when I made these pieces for this new one, I actually ended up having to make a second pair because my pieces weren't level. And therefore I made a new set using UV resin because I wasn't going to be able to match this up. So I'll show you those in a minute. But instead of butting these right up against, and I don't know if that's the way it should be, in the second one that I did, what I did was I just basically had it so that there was enough space between the front and the back, if you will, so that it would shut easily, but it wasn't butted right up against on either sides. I didn't do that. And that actually made it easier for me to put it together. Am I still in? Yeah, okay. So I still made sure it lined up, from the top of here down into the chest itself. But I wasn't, I didn't force it against, because when I forced it against, when I had the original ones, it wouldn't shut properly. I mean, there was a bit of it wasn't easy like this is now. So I just wanted to point out that I lined it up, yes, with the inside, but I didn't butt it right up against, which allowed me, because there was then space, and I used a toothpick, then I was able to get the UV resin then down the sides of it a little bit, cure it, and I'm not concerned about this coming apart. And the people I'm going to give this to, I'll explain to them, don't roughhouse with this, don't be throwing it around. It will hold together, but, don't get crazy with it. But I was able to then better put this together and easier put it together. Having said that, I did not use any kind of glue originally. All I did was I started with a little bit of UV resin down here at the bottom, cured it, and then very carefully, again, got putting more UV resin on, got my pieces into place, and then I secured it with even more UV resin. So if you're going to get this piece, please know that it's going to be a bit of fiddling around when it comes to putting this together with the lid. And you may have to practice a couple of times, and I would suggest that when you're putting this on, these pieces, that you put a little bit of UV resin on, get things cured, and then, like, and I say a little bit because then you can pull it apart if it doesn't work. And that's what I've had to do a couple of times, is it's not exactly right, so I've had to pull it apart and then start again. So that's why, until you've got it exactly the way you want it and it's closing properly, just be, I want to say be gentle with the amount of UV resin you use, but you know what I mean. Just don't put a lot on, just in case you have to take it apart. There you go. So that was sort of what I learned with this to make it a little bit easier. Now, how did I decorate it? Well, you can kind of see that a little bit. And I mentioned in my other video that the lock that came with this piece, I didn't like it. I think it's too big. But I wanted to dress these up a little bit. And this was my test piece. And I just want to, they're over there. So give me a second. I'm just going to roll away for a moment and then come back, because I have another tool. So in this one, what I had originally done, get that out. So there we go. I had used one of the Let's Resin chrome markers to go up and over here to define this a little bit more. What I'm going to recommend if you do that is do it once, let it sit, and then do it again if you need to. I unfortunately had touched mine. It gave it an antique-ish look, which it's kind of cool if that's what you're going for, but just do it carefully. Let the first coat sit and dry, and then do it again. And be sure not to, I can't emphasize this enough, be sure that you don't get any on your fingers and you don't touch. So this was a play piece for me, and I did get, where is it there? I did get some of the chrome marker on it. So be very careful. Take your time. You're going to require patience for this piece. You're just going to require patience. Then what I did is I had found these rolls of rhinestones at Michael's. So what I've done is I've picked up, I've got them in different colors, depending on what the color of my treasure chest is. And I took these, and obviously I've glued them on. And then I have these thicker ones that I also got from Michael's. And because I wasn't sure of the lock, and I didn't know what to do, I thought, well, this works. For me, it works. And I don't, like, if you can just see, let's put it like that. I think it's not a lot, but it's enough to sort of draw your attention to it. And I thought, because I can't figure out a lock, like, I bought some locks, I made a silicone mold out of them, but I still think they were too big for it. If this was a little bit bigger, they probably would have worked better. And also, when I made my mold, it didn't come out exactly the way I wanted it to. So I have this concept that the part that is the handle of it was going to end up with air bubbles. And I wasn't 100% sure how well it would stick. I don't want to say stick to it, but how it was going to look as far as sitting against the lid, because that's the only place I wanted it. So I thought, okay, we're using the single strand for here. What if we do that for, sort of to represent a latch on it? I wouldn't, want people to pull it up from that. I mean, this opens pretty easily, this being the first one, and then you just move it out of the way and put it down. So for the next one, because my pieces here didn't come out the way I wanted to, I made these with UV resin, and I was very careful. It took me probably half an hour to make them because I layered them as I went. I included some of the Nuvo Desert Sunset Pure Sheen glitter in the UV resin, but I coated the mold itself with a Let's Resin gold. And then I just started working at it and getting it filled up until I had them the way I wanted them to. And I actually think I did a fairly decent job matching the color up. And this is at the back as well. Does it matter? Yes, it does matter to me, but I think we're close enough that we're okay. And you can see maybe the glitter in here. Right in here. Okay, so again, with this one, the copper, this is the copper. Chrome marker wasn't going to look good. So I've already done one coat using the Let's Resin Gold on this. Again, I've used the gold chain top and obviously this at the bottom. This one opens so much easier and better since I readjusted how I was putting this together. And I'm very pleased with how this looks at this point. I think these have a lot of potential. There's a bit of work that goes not into making this piece. The work goes into putting it together and decorating it if you choose to. Because of what I want this for, that's why I've, put the extra effort in with the rhinestones. But I am very pleased with how this has turned out. I wanted to explain how I had found an easier way to put these in now, instead of slamming them up against the side. And two, by not slamming them up against the side, I now have a little bit more room that I can put UV resin along here and get down and be safer. And then what I did was, once I had used the UV light on it, I took it outside and let the sunlight hit it, because I figured that would help just solidify it a little bit more. Okay, so that's there. As far as putting these rhinestones on, I tell you, I've been playing with so many different glues, it isn't even funny anymore. But I got this Gorilla Super Glue, and if you're going to use this, be aware it will set and butt quick. I wasn't expecting it to set so quickly, but it did. I feel that these are, again, if you're going to play with it, I guess it has the potential for coming off, but it has adhered those really well. Like, I'm not concerned about them coming off at all. So there you have it. This is the second Cheshire Trust. And I figure they're going to get easier because I now understand the better ways of doing it. Again, I'm going to put a second coat of the gold on this. But I think, and comment below what you think, whether or not you found it helpful that I've played a little bit more so that these hinges may not be so challenging for you, because you've gotten some tips on how to best do this. And yeah, I'm just feeling the bottom of this. There's something on the bottom of it, but there we go. I'm trying to debate whether I would want anything in it, but I think no. The idea is they can just have some jewels dripping out the side of it. That's kind of like necklaces that would droop outside of it. There you have it. That's all that there is to this video. I just thought you'd like an update on how I decided to decorate it and a new tip I have for putting the hinges on it. I want to mention, and I don't know if I did it on my last video or not, but we have hit just over 300 subscribers, which thank you so much. I'm loving it. I'm loving the questions I'm getting, the comments on, how am I doing things, thanking me for the videos I'm doing because they're explaining how different things are working. I'm very grateful for everyone who's saying, so this is what I do, because that's helpful to me as well. And I'm also getting requests for specific videos, which I don't mind. If I can do them, I will do them. And it helps me come up with ideas. So thank you for that. Thank you for everything. I'm loving doing this. It is a lot of work, but I'm enjoying doing it. I hope you're having a great day, whatever creative endeavor you're getting up to. Enjoy whatever. Have a great day. Take care, and bye for now.